Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Welcome to Returning Home. I'm your host, Natalie Stefanski, speaking to you live from my home in the Har Havron, Susia. Getting a little confused there. It is the middle of the day, all right? It's Thursday afternoon here, July 22nd. I just left the pool, and things are back on after the 9 days. Everybody, got out of their houses and back to life, big-time life. Lots of weddings now, lots of trips. Last night, we had an empty house because all my children are out. Even my youngest, 11-year-old, he did camping with his kitana tents in the Yatir forest, which is the largest forest in Israel. And they went sleeping out there in tents. My 14-year-old girl, went to the Kinneret with her friends on a bus, first time up there by herself. My oldest is in the Army. He's doing a driving course. He'll be driving a missile launcher. And I think I told you all that. And my other son is doing this game. This is amazing. It's called Misachak Kites, summer game. And it's what the teens do here. And they go out all around Israel for 3 days and nights in teams. They double up their prizes, I think cash prizes. And they're like doing these clues, these very sophisticated clues. And they go to these different cities and have to spend all the day in one city jumping from clue to clue. I don't really understand it. It's way beyond me. They don't ask me for help. But they're gone for 3 days and 3 nights. And these kids are 15 years old, out and about in Israel, alone, finding places to sleep. I guess they, use their relatives or their friends. It's pretty cool. I know that goes on in other places in Israel, but I think Susia, our yeshuv, is very, very competitive about it, very sophisticated about it. And it's a big deal. So I haven't seen my kid in a couple days, and I haven't heard from I don't hear from him. He sent me a picture last night from Tel Aviv. I didn't know he was in Tel Aviv. So that's pretty exciting. That is great. That is my greatest accomplishment, I think, living here and having Israeli kids who are independent and they're not dependent on me to take them on vacation. That's very different than the way I grew up, and it's something I love. And I think it's a great accomplishment. We have a great show today. We have someone who's going to be making aliyah in a week. Lou from Philadelphia. We'll be speaking with Aleeza. And I think one more. So stick with us. We'll be right back. And we'll meet our guests when we get back.
The return of the Jewish people to the land of Israel was prophesied in the Bible thousands of years ago and is coming true today. Shalom. Join me, Josh Wander, on Israel Unplugged. Listen in as we delve into the spiritual and physical aspects of the Jewish return to Zion. We'll discuss the biblically mandated, historic, and of course practical understandings of this incredible transition from exile to redemption. That's Israel Unplugged, every Monday on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com.
Welcome back to Returning Home. I'm your host, Natalie Stefanski. Our first guest today is Lou Lassoff, who's going to be moving here in a matter of weeks from Philadelphia. We've had Lou on the show in the past. He is coming alone. He is divorced and will be starting a new life here, and has been to Israel only, I think, way, way back and over 30 years ago as some kind of tennis player, basketball player, some kind of athlete. Very excited to have him on the show. Lou, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, I'm kind of bubbling over here because you're an unusual guest. I want to know a few things. You told me that you got approved.
Sure.
Approved for aliyah. So what does that really mean?
I have my approval. I got my approval a week ago. And just to clarify, it's almost 30 years. It's 29 and a half years the last time I was over there. I was there when I was 17 years old on a basketball team. We played tennis at the Israeli Tennis Center when I was, and we all said to each other, this place is great. It feels like home. I want to live here. Flash forward, my brother played professional basketball in Israel for 15 years. I went to visit him twice in 85 and in 92. 92 was the last time I was over there. So it's been nearly 30 years, and yes, it's like, they say life starts at 60, so I'm jumping in. And I have a date. I'm crossing my fingers. I got my approval last week. The next step is to file for your Israeli visa, which they say takes 10 days to 2 weeks. I sent that in. I overnighted that Monday morning, so they had it Tuesday, and I should. And then after that, I got an email from Nefesh B'Nefesh saying you can book your flight. I was like, okay, because I had it in my mind. I want to be there in August. My daughter turns 28 on August 19th. She said, "Dad, would you be here for my birthday?" I said, "Absolutely." And I said, "But then I want to get on a plane, very soon thereafter." So I reserved a spot on the August 24th group flight, which I think there's like 80, 90 to 100 olim on that flight. I reserved a spot on that flight, and then they say, as long as you pay for it, you pay the $70 to reserve your ticket, then it's booked. But it's all predicated on the visa coming in 10 days, before I fly.
Okay.
So that's my next step, and that's what I'm hoping for.
Right. So you have to kind of like book your flight and cross your fingers. But everybody does that.
Yes.
I understand.
Okay.
And that's fine.
Good.
So you're saying a $70 ticket. What do you mean?
I don't know, some administration fee or something.
Okay. But that's it. It's 70. That's it. You don't pay any more.
No, correct.
Okay.
But then if the flight doesn't happen, I think I got to pay for the whole seat or so. I mean, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it, whatever.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to have to pay for the whole seat. I think that with aliyah and going through Nefesh B'Nefesh is you get the flight free. I mean, that's how it's been for years.
Right, but I think there's some ramifications. If it doesn't happen on the 24th, then it might cost me some more money. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Tell me, and I wanted to get into this because the last time we spoke, you told me you were driving for Uber, and you're not one of these guys who plans every little thing. I hear, by the way, you're talking very casual, and you have a very nice, relaxing style about you. What are your plans? What are your financial plans? A lot of people come here or don't come here, all because of their work, all because of their employment, and you don't seem to have a care in the world. And I like it, I like it. But let's hear what the story is. There are people listening, and maybe they're in a similar situation.
I'm pretty much starting over at age 60. I was in the real estate field for many years and just got burned out from it. And I've been driving a car for the last 5 years or so. But I'm not going to do that in Israel. And I'm going to once I acclimate myself into life, which is into Israeli life, I want to be able to go to Ulpan, and while I'm going into Ulpan, that I can be networking and have a good job after that.
Okay. So let's clarify and slow down. I'm asking you this for a reason. I'm not trying to be like difficult, but I do have listeners who write in, and I have one particular woman who's been writing to me complaining how she's wanted to come to Israel for years, but all the advertisements she sees in the newspaper where she lives, somewhere in New York, show very expensive apartments. There's no way they can afford that at her age. She's also 60. Her husband is 63, 64. And she's a librarian, I think, and he is something else. And for people that age, starting over is not feasible. So I'm asking you, really, tell me the truth. You have to come with some money. You do have to come with some savings, right?
Yeah, I have a little. I have a little bit of savings from a work accident.
Right. Well, you have to have savings of some sort because this is the real world here, and things do cost money. You can't come here and expect to just take Ulpan and the government to pay for you forever. They do give you some money.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I looked into aliyah 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I wasn't ready for it. And I was in a horrific work accident 2 years ago, and I almost lost my wrist. My wrist got crushed, and whole long story. And there's I have some savings as a result of that whole debacle. So yeah, maybe I'm not in a typical situation that other people are in, but I'm not a typical person, as you can hear.
Well, I'll say
voice.
this, people your age, most of them, responsible people, do have some savings. It's going to happen one way or another, but they
Right.
Americans pretty much work and look ahead. They look to the future. They build something, and it could be a little or a lot. But for people out there, there have been people who come on the show, and they jump from one thing to another. Now, if you're young, you're 20 years old, you're 25 years old, you don't need much. It's true. You can live that way. But older people are different. They have a different standard of life.
Yeah. Yeah. My money's not going to last forever. I need to find something. So I'm going to be, hitting the pavement, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do. In the interim, many Russians came in. Last time I was there was 92. All these Russians had come, and they were doctors, and they were musicians, and they're sweeping streets because until they got acclimated. So if I got to paint some apartments, or if I got to do whatever I have to do, some contracting or some manual labor, whatever I have to do to make this endeavor work.
Okay, well, that's a very unusual attitude for someone your age. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but there are not that many people who have that attitude. There are not that many Americans who've worked their way up the ladder wherever they are, and they are willing to start at the bottom. Now, I'm saying this because today, with the computer and the internet and working remotely and the high-tech industry here, you don't have to sweep streets. You can be in high-tech sales. You can be fine, and I think you're not going to be. I think you're going to be in a high-tech sales position, Lou.
That's fine. That's fine. But
Yeah.
I'm saying, you got to come humble, and up until about 2-3 weeks ago, I had no idea where I was going to be living. I was going to be living in Gershon and Aleeza's backyard, and I was like, what can be more humble than to come into the land, camping out for a couple of weeks until I find an apartment. But meanwhile, I've communicated with some other friends and family of my brother-in-law, and I'm able to. I was able to secure housing until I can get myself an apartment.
Okay, that is a beautiful expression. You've got to come humble. I love it. I agree with you. I came humble, and I wish more people would feel that way, because if they did, they wouldn't be waiting to put all the pieces together. They wouldn't be waiting till this happens, till that happens. I love it. You got to come humble. I love it. That is so. It's a beautiful attitude. And if everyone had that attitude, we would not have any empty space here. It would be full. It's upsetting.
I just wanted to mention also, you had sent me a message the other day of what things that we're going to talk about, and one thing you were talking about are regrets. Do you have any regrets? And I wanted to say just two regrets. Is the main regret is that what I'm doing, people are not awake. They don't get it. What I regret is that people are so complacent right now. They I mean, it's all these things that are happening in the world. They're all wake-up calls. 9/11 happened. People are still sleeping. All these shootings in America in the schools. people are still sleeping. They're not getting it. The synagogue in Pittsburgh, the synagogue in Poway, all these attacks on Jews, and people are still complacent. They're still not getting it. They're still not seeing
But you don't have anything. You don't. I mean, that's not personal to you. You don't have anything to regret for those things. Okay, I think we're taking a break. Wait a second. They're telling me we're going to have to take a break. Stay with us. We're going to continue after the break. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All you, stick around. Stick around.
Hi, everyone. This is Andrea Siminto from Jerusalem, inviting you to drop everything and join me on my show, Pull Up a Chair. We'll visit this week's quirky stories, meet fabulous guests, and discover my Israel. Together, we'll laugh, shout, and explain the topics that make us say, hey, we've got to talk about that. So get comfortable and pull up a chair with me, Andrea Siminto, every Thursday on Israel News Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Returning Home. We're still with Lou. We were just talking off the air on a second regret, but we had a little discussion first because a regret is something you wish you had or had not done. Lou, I don't think, has any regrets, okay? He's lived his life. He's done a lot of cool stuff, but he did say something that is a regret. Lou, you want to share that with us about the travel?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I wish I had done more traveling in the United States before I left. Before I'm, leaving. That's all. When I see everybody else going to, all these places, visiting all these different states, and that would have been a nice thing to have done. But that's I guess.
Well, I was telling, I'm going to add what I told you off the air is, first of all, once you move to Israel, everyone listening, you can leave. Okay, you can travel. Israelis travel all over the place. They travel to Greece, they travel to Europe, they travel to America, they travel to Asia, they travel to Latin America. Israelis are big travelers. They're extremely adventurous. Anywhere you go in the world, you're gonna find an Israeli. You're gonna find Chabad, you're gonna find Chabad. You're gonna find an Israeli. That's one thing. Another thing is what Lou should do, as I was telling him, is get himself a girlfriend and then start traveling to the Rocky Mountains or wherever he wants to go in America, and that'll be his. That'll be the next 10 years of his life, traveling with his girlfriend. You like that? You like that?
Sounds good to me. I like that a lot. I think it's a great idea.
Right.
That's a great plan.
Right. And especially if you go around telling people, I like to travel. Oh, yeah. You'll be beating them off, okay? Because women like to travel. Women like to travel.
So do I.
So this is great. You wanted to share some words of wisdom with our viewers before we let you go. And I'd like you to repeat what you were telling me offline. Do you remember what those words were? Oh,
yeah. It's just that I told people, close friends, a number of years ago that it's really time to go home. And I said, when you see that I'm leaving, when you see that I leave, then it's time to go home. And that's. Things, I believe things, are only going to get worse in this country. Throughout history, if you look at all empires in the world, they last a certain amount of time. They say democracy will last like 250 years, and we see that freedoms are eroding here. They're just spending money. Our children are going to be paying for all this crazy spending that they're doing in the United States now, and it's not the same. It's not going to be the same country, and we're in exile. We're in the longest exile from Israel, and it's time for us to go back home.
Right.
And I know not everybody feels that, but don't make this a permanent place. My ancestors have only been here, 3 generations. My family came from Eastern Europe, from Russia and part of Poland in, the early 1900s. So we've only been here 120 years. We haven't been here forever, and This is not a forever destination. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's how people have to look at it. They don't. But you just said it so well. They've only been there 120 years. It doesn't sound like very long. You know, it really doesn't.
It's not.
And it isn't. It isn't. And people don't see that big picture. It's like looking at the big picture, and they need to. They need to.
The other big picture. The other big picture is that if you look in the Torah, that everybody thinks because of the movie The Ten Commandments that all the Jews left Egypt, and that's not true. There's only a small portion of the Jews left. Only 20% actually left Egypt. The other 80%, they either died in the plague of darkness or they just didn't want to be free. They just were not ready. They liked that life of they were used to that life, and they could not, fathom themselves having a new life of freedom.
Right.
And I think a lot of people here, they work their tail off, and they don't, and they work on Saturdays, and they do what they have to do to survive, and they don't see that they don't see the bigger picture. They don't see things changing. They're not awake to the fact that things are, anti-Semitism is growing. We have anti-Semites in our government, in our Congress.
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
Right.
And not getting better.
Right. Right.
So
it's so clear.
I hope people will hear that and see what's going on and say, hey, enough is enough. All these things, people getting beat up in Brooklyn, people getting harassed in restaurants in Los Angeles, all these things. When is enough enough?
Right.
Our college campuses. There was a film put out like 15 years ago that the Intifada comes to campus. It's only getting worse and worse on for our younger people on campuses and all throughout society. So when are people going to say enough is enough?
Well, apparently they're going to say enough is enough when Lou says it's enough is enough. And if, like you said before, when you leave, it's time to go.
It's time to roll.
Yeah.
It's time to roll. And that's what I'm doing.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. I hope you're inspiring some people out there who are on the fence. And, best of luck with your flight. We will meet you on the other side when you come home. And, just say your goodbyes and, just get out of there. And, we wish you well, an easy aliyah.
Yeah, it will be very, very bittersweet to be leaving my whole family behind. But I'm looking to carve out a new life there, and so that my family hopefully will come over.
Yes.
And once
you are. You are leading. You are the leader. Sometimes it's the other way around. It's the children who come first, and the parents follow. Well, you're the parent, and you're leading, and that's fine. You're doing it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yofi. Okay, Yofi, Lou. Take care.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for coming on. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, so we're going to be calling up our next guest in just a few moments, but in the meantime, he said some very, very strong points, and it is, I'm no different. I do understand, and I do kind of watch baffled when people are just going about their lives and celebrating the bar mitzvahs and going to this party and doing this and doing that and ignoring the atmosphere that is charged and changing in America, in all parts of America. And when he says people are asleep, that's what he means. He means people are just going about their lives as if as if there is nothing that has changed. But things have changed, and not so slowly. They seem to change very rapidly. Because whenever there's a shooting or when there's violence against Jews today, it doesn't get shock anymore. Nobody is shocked. It's kind of just like, we just roll with it and go on and turn the page of the newspaper to the next story. Okay. But here in Israel, those things don't happen. Here in Israel, it is really, it's a great life. And even if you come without a lot of money, and even if you come alone and without a plan, and you do have to sleep on someone's couch, and you have to humble yourself, that's great. It's at least you're here, and you put one foot in front of the other, and you make it work. I think moving anywhere is hard. From one house to another, from one town to another, from one job to another, it's hard. But at least if you do the big jump here, you're here, and you make your way. And it's small. It's so funny. It's so small here. We have like 7 or 8 banks in this one little country. And we have so many choices of coffee and so many choices of, swimming pool clubs. There are lots of things to do in this teeny tiny place. And you can really do it all. I was saying earlier that my daughter is in the Kinneret. The Kinneret is 3 hours away from us. It's the only lake in Israel. It's the only freshwater lake. And this is like the big place to go here. And we've never gone as a family. And my children have all gone with their friends only. I've never gone with as a vacation there. But this is the place to go. And it's 3 hours away. 3 hours is not a big deal, right? You don't have to fly. But that's how Israel is. Everything's close. It's so funny. Some people, need to get out of here. And when I mentioned earlier that Israelis need to travel, and they do travel, that's why. They feel like they need to get out. And they travel everywhere. And when you move here, you can travel too. And there's some people who move here for part of the year. And when they're here, they travel in Israel. I have friends who have an apartment in Yerushalayim, and they go on vacation to Caesarea, to Herzliya, to Mitzvah Ramon. They find different places in Israel. I love that. It's like seeing all of Israel and appreciating all of Israel. And when you're here, and especially I think when you're a newcomer, and you have these big eyes, and you're looking at everything like it's new for the first time. And if you're able to do this, and Lou will be able to do this because he doesn't have children to take care of, he's going to be able to travel. You're allowed to adventure. You can do that because you don't have to worry about school. You don't have to worry about taking care of your kids. So it's kind of nice to come as an older adult. All you older adults out there, if you're concerned, don't be. Find a place to live that you can afford and travel. Because traveling here is so inexpensive. Things are just, the cost of things are just super low. Admittance to the museums are low. The waterfalls are low. The nature parks are low. The zoo is low. Everything's cheap. 25 shekels. This is what it costs. What is that? $7. It's not bad. It's not bad. And everything you can do by bus. Also, you don't have to have a car. All right, stick with us. We will be back with Aleeza from Pardes Chana when we come back after these messages.
Are you interested in transforming your life, drawing closer to the Creator, and uncovering the deeper meanings and hidden treasures in the Hebrew Bible?
Then join me, Rav Yitzhak Michelson,
and me, William Hall,
on the Science of Kabbalah, where we are seeking to narrow the gap between what we understand of our physical and spiritual worlds. So make sure to tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Israel time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on Israel News Talk Radio.
Hello, I am Walter Bingham. If you want to hear the news behind the news and the true perspective on world affairs, then the Walter Bingham File is the program for you. We bring you interviews with the movers and shakers, political commentaries, and on-the-spot reports of events as they happen. All here every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Israel time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And it's all archived on our website. Make it a date.
Welcome back to Returning Home. I'm your host, Natalie Sapinski, talking today with Aleeza Ben Shalom from Pardes Chana, also from Philadelphia, she's the one who's bringing Lou over. Really, I think she's bringing the whole town, right, Aleeza? That's what he told me.
We plan to get all of our friends to come, and when they come, we're telling them Pardes Chana is the place to be.
Okay, awesome. Grow that city. That's great. I was just telling her that he was telling us all that he was going to plan on sleeping on her couch, but he made other arrangements. And, he could have been here 30 years ago. It's funny. Somebody like that, it's just funny. He waited too long. He really did wait too long, but he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He's a great attitude. He's so different than you. It's just the things he's saying, and I'm thinking of I don't know how you two are friends. He's so different. He doesn't have any plans. He'll see how it goes. He doesn't really know. And you're like, how do I make sure my kids have 100% in the classroom? I'm going to start a petition. I'm like, my God. So yeah, let's get into that. Aleeza and I have been talking offline, and like, tell me what's new. Aleeza, I'm going to let you take it up from here and tell me what you've been telling me. Tell everybody what you've been telling me.
Right. So in the news, and I don't know if the news is like real news or people are blowing smoke, but in the news, I don't know. I'm going to give you my version, and I'm not going to claim that this is a real story because I don't know the full story. But it sounds like somebody within the Ministry of Education is having a discussion and maybe wants to present a plan where next school year, 70% of the time kids are in school and 30% of the time they're on Zoom. And that way they minimize the number of kids in the classroom and they space things out. And they have this whole big proposal that they're looking to put out there. And I read this, and I had a moment of panic. Like, no, absolutely not. This is completely not acceptable. If you're going to do this for everybody, I know it's not everybody. If you have kids that have special needs, they're in the classroom 100% of the time. I know even when things were going on last year, they were taken care of in a very different way. And I started to get this fire inside of me that was like, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to, I'll petition the Ministry of Education, and I'm going to tell them olim and new immigrants, the children, for the first 5 years, you need to be considered special ed, and you should be automatically thrown in and get those benefits. Because if you think that my children are going to learn over Zoom, they can hardly even keep up in the classroom. That's the only shot that they have of actually learning something and making it here. Over Zoom,
Okay.
they won't be on Zoom because I'm not going to have crying fights and they won't understand anything. So I'm like all fired up. And then I said, you know what? How about if I take a deep breath? Let's be rational. Who are the top 5 people that I need to talk to figure out what to do? So I found a neighbor who's Israeli, a former principal. I spoke with her. We had a meeting all in Hebrew. She was so lovely. She cut her speed of Hebrew down to about 75% instead of 100%, so I could catch most of the conversation. And I spoke to a few other people in education and getting guidance. And the basic thing was, first of all, maybe it's not true. Maybe it's, just a conversation that people are having. Maybe it's newsworthy, but it's not actually going to be. Second of all, she's like, it's Corona. So, who knows what's going to be? Tomorrow, everybody's going to be in lockdown. And in a month from now, everything's going to be open. She's like, we really have no idea. And she's like, and third of all, go to your principal. Talk to them. Talk to your aliyah school, new olim coordinator. Talk to the moatzah, the township. And then if you want to go petition the government, maybe you want to just leave that for last. Why don't you start with, small things? But I'm thinking, why should I forget about all the olim in the country? If I'm going to fight the battle, I may as well fight it for everybody. And we'll try to make some changes.
Okay. So good. First of all, awesome. Kol hakavod. I'm glad you're on fire. I'll tell you my opinion. All right. I agree with those women. I don't think anything's going to happen. I think it's just a lot of yap. They've got no news. I mean, what is the news this week? Ben and Jerry's. All right. There is no news here. It is boring here. It is summertime. Half the people are planning their vacation. Half the people are on vacation. The government is going to collapse anyway. I don't think anything's going to happen. Nobody wants Zoom. It will not happen. Okay. No Israeli parent wants it. No foreign parent wants it. It has nothing to do with being an old or not. Nobody wants their kids at home on the computer. Not going to happen. So I am not worried at all. At all.
Either. Right. Teachers don't want it either. I agree. But I don't think there's a zero chance. Just with the way that this world operates, 50-50. I think it can happen.
Not going to happen. So that I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. Second of all, your idea for making olim a category of special ed is very good, and it may already be. It may exist in some places because it doesn't sound far-fetched at all. It sounds like something that probably
it's a good
exists.
Idea, right?
It probably does exist. What, you're not the only olim here. You're not the only kids who can't speak Hebrew.
You get extra tutoring. So what do you get? I get 2 hours per kid a week in school, pull out of the classroom help. 2 hours, they're sitting in class 5 hours a day, and they understand 6%.
Yeah, I get it. It's not nearly enough. I know it's not nearly enough.
Right.
So yeah, you need to work out something, and they're going to look at the percentage of students who need that service where you live. So the more olim that are in your area of Pardes Chana in your school, the better shot you have. All right. Like I told you the story I had. I used to pull my kid out of class and read to him English books, Pancakes, by Eric Carle on the picnic table. And one other student came, and then I got them a special English class for 2 students. Okay. Just imagine if there were 5, right? Or 6.
Right.
So, So definitely you do not need to go to the government. You should definitely start with your township, I think. But I mean, we can talk about this offline. But I mean, there's a lot you can do just by making a lot of noise. They don't like noise. These Israelis, they don't want noise. They want quiet. They want to drink their coffee. They don't want any hassle. So hassle them, and then they'll shut you up because they'll do what you want. That's what you got to do. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. But you know what? Why not get the services anyway?
Right.
Get them anyway.
Right, I was thinking we need the services. With or without this, we actually need the services.
Yeah. You push for more. 2 hours a week per child? Are you kidding me? That's nothing.
It's really, I mean, the teacher that we've been working with, the olim coordinator, is lovely. But what's ironic? She only speaks Hebrew. So I have a base of Hebrew. My husband has nothing. So she keeps calling him on the phone, and he's like, lo, call my wife. And she's, and he's like, I don't understand what you're saying. Please stop calling.
How dumb, right?
But you think that the olim coordinator would speak English, but I kind of love it. I think that that's something so sweet, it's Israel. I love it. We came to Israel, and I want to be Israeli. I want to be a part of the culture. I want to be thrown into it, and I want to figure it out. And I know we'll get through it, but I do think that I still have to, like you said, fight a little bit more. And maybe this is a motivation to just have an awareness that I'm going to need more services than 2 hours a week. It's really not enough. It's not if they're going to make it and thrive.
I mean, maybe, yeah.
I mean, we've been doing outside tutoring. It's not like we haven't. We've had tutors at our house every single day.
Look, Aleeza, I mean, do you have to also think of, you said you want to help other olim. There are people who don't have the resources for tutors. There are people who have 8 kids. They don't have the money for private tutors. I've never had a private tutor for my kids. They're 100 shekels an hour or something. My kid needed math help. We found some guy in the neighborhood. Maybe he had 2 sessions with him. Stuff's expensive. Not people have. People can't. There's no money tree.
Right.
So
no, it is expensive, and that's where any of our funding is going. Because I know that the first year, the first 2 years, the first 5 years, this is the key time to make sure that everybody gets as much support as possible so that we can swim more than we sink.
Yeah. And they're also, you need to have an advocate. You need to get a friend. Like I have a friend here who's on the VAD, the PTA kind of. And she actually, she knows all this stuff. And when Corona started, she, how do I say this to you? She tagged me and told me that they're giving computers at the Moatzah for families who are needy, who need them. And it was 200 shekels for a brand new computer. And we didn't have a computer for my kid to do Zoom. He was using mine. And so she signed me up and everything and got that for me. And how did she do it? She said, Natalie, I told them that you're an Ola Chadash. You're a new immigrant. I'm not a new immigrant. I've been here 15 years. She said that was my hardship and I got one. Another thing, my daughter is in a special class. It's called Project Shachar. There were 3 girls in this class. I used to think it was for bad kids. They're going to come around every year and maybe even ask you if you're interested. I thought it was for bad kids, so I never signed up my kids before. But 2 years ago, my daughter would not pay attention in class. She was giving the teacher attitude. So I joined this group, and they took them out for horseback riding, for wood shop, for cooking, and tutoring.
Wow.
And guess what happened? During Corona, it's considered special ed. So she got to continue doing this stuff.
Oh, amazing.
So when that comes around to your kids, it's called Project Shachar. I guess it goes on all over the country. You sign them up. Don't worry about them being bad kids. It turns out they weren't bad kids. They're kids who just for whatever reason, don't like to they're not bookish. These are not bookish girls. My daughter kind of looks out the window, doesn't, she only wants to do math and everything. She doesn't want to, whatever. She's smart. She just isn't a learner. I wasn't really a learner either.
It gives them out of the classroom opportunities to learn and interact with the world and have experiences.
Yeah, and they got help with their schoolwork. They got private help with the schoolwork.
Right. That's what we really need. They really need to be taken out of the classroom once a day. They need to know that there's a relief for 40 minutes or an hour or whatever it is once a day where they're going to understand something or at least get a smaller classroom where they can just get more individualized attention that's on their level.
Yes, of course they need that.
That's really what's going to be key.
They need that, and we're out of time. Thank you for joining us. I think we could go on forever about this. You're going to be an expert. You're going to be an expert at this.
Thank you.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Kol hakavod.
If you love Israel News Talk Radio, then you'll love our Facebook page. We keep you up to date on what's happening in Israel, plus little surprise treasures that we don't share on the radio. Go now to follow us on Facebook. Just look for the Israel News Talk Radio Facebook page, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us by clicking on the like button. We post great stuff there that you'll want to share. Israel News Talk Radio on Facebook and Israel News Radio on Twitter.
If you're hearing this message, everyone else can too. Advertise with Israel News Talk Radio and get your message out to people. We'll build a personalized package for you. Contact advertising at israelnewstalkradio.com.
Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Hey, this is Jake in Anchorage, Alaska, and I love listening to all the super interesting interviews and up-to-date information on what's happening in Israel.
Hello, this is Anna King, originally from London, now living in Israel. And what can I say? Israel News Talk Radio is my cup of tea.
My name is Bhaskar. I'm from India, and I love listening because you get to know the truth and wonderful voices from this lovely country.
Mom!
Okay, wait a minute. Hi, this is Chava Dax, and I'm calling from the rolling hills of Ma'ale Adumim, just north of Jerusalem. I always listen to Israel News Talk Radio to get all the latest news and commentary and to keep me up to date every day.
This is Sarah Dax from Ma'ale Adumim, and I'm 12. I wish Israel News Talk Radio was boring so my mom wouldn't listen to it all the time. Mom!
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.